Have you ever wondered why, despite our best efforts to take control, our emotions sometimes seem to have a life of their own? Today, I invite you to dive deep into a transformative perspective inspired by Eckhart Tolle, a perspective that has changed the way I see compassion, both for others and for myself. Let's explore these ideas together and see how they can help us lead a more mindful, enriched life. Imagine a time when you felt overwhelmed by negative emotions. A moment when anger, frustration, or self-criticism seemed to overpower you. I remember moments in my life when I would react impulsively and later be filled with regret and self-reproach. It was in those times that I stumbled upon Tolle's teachings, which gently guided me toward a more compassionate understanding of my own experiences. Instead of fighting against these emotions, Tolle encouraged me to simply observe them, as if watching a storm from a safe haven. He reminds us that true compassion starts with the ability to be present with what is, without judgment. Tolle often explains that the capacity for compassion isn't something we acquire overnight. It's a natural part of our evolution as human beings. Yet many of us get caught up in our own egos, trapped in a narrow sense of self that makes it hard to connect with others on a deeper level. You might have noticed that sometimes, even in our modern, fast-paced lives, there are people so absorbed in their own concerns that they struggle to empathize with someone else's pain. Tolle calls this absence of empathy a major hurdle on the path to genuine compassion. Empathy, he teaches, is not just about understanding another person's feelings. It's about opening yourself up to the shared human experience, recognizing that we're all connected in our capacity to feel and to heal. What struck me the most was Tolle's reminder that when we become aware of our own patterns, when we start to catch ourselves in moments of unconscious reaction, we pave the way for true self-compassion. I've experienced this firsthand. After a heated argument or a moment of uncontrolled anger, I would feel that familiar inner critic begin to condemn me. But Tolle's words helped me to see that these reactions aren't a sign of weakness or moral failing. They're simply indications of a part of myself that is not fully awake. By pausing and acknowledging that, instead of beating myself up, I could learn to forgive and understand my own humanity, I began to soften the harshness I had directed toward myself. Tolle also speaks about forgiveness in a very compassionate way. He explains that many of us hold onto past regrets, berating ourselves for actions taken when we were less aware. But consider for a moment, when you were overwhelmed by unconscious behavior, you had no other option than to act as you did. It's only when you grow in awareness that you can begin to forgive yourself for those moments. This realization that our past actions were simply reflections of a less conscious state can be incredibly liberating. It allows us to break free from the identity we might have constructed around our past mistakes, opening the door to a more compassionate and forgiving relationship with ourselves. Think about it like this: our perfection isn't measured by the absence of flaws in our outward behavior, but by the unchanging, whole nature of who we are deep inside. Tolle points out that, while our external lives may always show signs of imperfection, deep within us exists a serene, unaltered presence, a quiet core that remains complete no matter what happens. I find that incredibly reassuring. It means that even when I'm caught in the turmoil of everyday challenges, there's a part of me that is always whole, always at peace. This inner stillness is the wellspring of compassion, a resource I can tap into whenever I need to remind myself that I am more than my immediate thoughts or feelings. Another powerful idea from Tolle is the notion that we don't have to fight our emotions in order to overcome them. Imagine trying to swim upstream against a mighty current. You only end up exhausted while the current grows stronger. In the same way, resisting our emotions only gives them more power over us. Instead, By learning to observe our feelings with gentle curiosity, we begin to see that they are transient, much like clouds passing in the sky. The storm of negative emotions will always subside, revealing the clear, calm sky of our true nature. This process isn't immediate. It requires practice and a willingness to confront the parts of ourselves we'd rather ignore. Yet, every small moment of mindful observation builds a foundation of inner strength and compassion. As you listen to these reflections, I encourage you to consider your own experiences. Have you ever caught yourself trapped in a cycle of negative self-talk, feeling as though you were defined by your mistakes? Tolle's teachings invite us to step outside of that cycle, to observe our emotions as temporary visitors rather than permanent fixtures of our identity. In doing so, we learn to treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we would offer a dear friend going through a difficult time. It's about shifting from a mindset of judgment to one of acceptance, acknowledging that every moment, even those filled with discomfort, holds the seed of growth. In my personal journey, embracing this perspective has meant the difference between living in a constant state of inner turmoil and enjoying moments of genuine peace. Each time I consciously choose to be present with my feelings, recognizing them, accepting them, and then letting them go, I feel a little lighter, a little more connected to the part of me that is unchanging. That's the beauty of this practice. It doesn't ask you to suppress your emotions or pretend they don't exist, but rather to understand them as a natural part of your human experience. I invite you to try this for yourself. Next time you find yourself overwhelmed by emotion, take a moment to pause and ask, what am I feeling right now? Where is this emotion in my body? Observe without judgment, simply letting it be as it is. In that quiet space of awareness, you might just discover that your true self, a self that is compassionate, resilient, and deeply connected to the larger flow of life, has always been there waiting for you to notice. If these reflections resonate with you and inspire you to look deeper into your own experience, I'd love for you to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your stories and insights help create a community of mindful, compassionate individuals supporting one another on this journey. Thanks for joining me today. Until next time, stay present, stay kind, and keep exploring the profound depths of your own inner life.